The feeling of already possessing what you desire is where everything begins. You are not meant to wait for life to shift before you do. The real change happens inside of you first, and once that inner shift is complete, your outer world has no choice but to respond. You are not someone who begs life for permission or approval. You are the one shaping your experience through the certainty you hold within. Instead of hoping or wishing, you step into knowing. You close your eyes and place yourself in the reality you desire, not as something distant, but as something already completed. You walk, think, and move as if it is already yours. If you want success, you feel its presence in your life right now. If you desire love, you allow yourself to experience the warmth and connection as if it is already surrounding you. If abundance is your goal, you imagine the security and ease of having it fully in your hands. Just as you never question whether the sun will rise, you bring that same level of certainty to your desire. What you see in the physical world is only a reflection of your inner state. If you want a different reflection, you must first change what is within you. When your inner belief shifts, the outer world naturally follows. You stop speaking from a place of lack and start expressing from fulfillment. Every thought, every word, and every action begins to align with the version of you who already has what you want. There is no chasing involved because chasing only reinforces separation. Instead, you embody the state of having. The moment you fully accept this state, your experience begins to reorganize itself around that conviction. Everything responds to the state you consistently occupy. What you accept as true in your mind gradually becomes your lived reality. The world mirrors your assumptions with precision. When you live with unwavering certainty that your desire is already fulfilled, life starts adjusting itself accordingly. Creation is not about struggle or waiting. It is about stepping into the feeling of completion right now. You allow that feeling to fill your awareness so completely that it becomes your natural state. You are not pretending or escaping reality. You are choosing a new one by shifting your inner experience. When you truly live from the end result, your mind no longer sees absence. It sees completion. Doubt begins to fade because doubt only exists when you believe something is missing. In the state of fulfillment, nothing feels out of reach because in your awareness it is already done. Most people remain trapped by reacting to their current circumstances. They let what they see decide what they believe. But true creation works the opposite way. You are not shaped by your environment is shaped by you. You are the source, not the outcome. When you embody the feeling of already having what you desire, your inner world becomes the cause, and your outer world becomes the effect. You are no longer waiting for change, you are being the change. Everything begins with identity. You must start seeing yourself as the person who already lives that reality. Ask yourself how that version of you would think, speak, and behave. Then begin acting from that state right now. With repetition, this identity strengthens until it becomes your natural way of being. As this inner alignment deepens, external circumstances begin to shift without force or struggle. Life becomes less about effort and more about alignment. The right opportunities, people, and situations naturally appear because you are no longer operating from lack. You are operating from fulfillment. The sense of chasing dissolves, replaced by quiet confidence and inner stability. Think of it like planting a seed. A gardener does not dig it up every day to check for growth. He trusts the process and allows nature to do its work. In the same way, once you plant a desire in your imagination and nurture it with belief, it grows beneath the surface until it becomes visible in your reality. Doubt is what interrupts this process. Faith, in this sense, is not about hoping for something external to happen. It is about standing firm in your inner knowing regardless of what appears outside. The physical world may take time to adjust, but it will always follow the state you consistently maintain. When you begin living as though your desire is already fulfilled, you are no longer waiting for life to give you something. You are experiencing it from within first. And as that inner experience stabilizes, everything around you reorganizes to match it. This is not about forcing outcomes or controlling every detail. It is about becoming the version of you who already has what you want. From that state, action becomes natural and effortless. You move differently, choose differently, and attract differently without struggle. Eventually, the feeling of lack disappears completely. In its place is a steady sense of certainty that what you desire is already yours. And from that state, life has no choice but to reflect the reality you are embodying. Everything you experience in life comes from the feelings and assumptions you consistently hold within you. Many people believe their circumstances are random or controlled by outside forces, but in reality, what you see around you is shaped by your inner state. Nothing in your external world changes until something shifts inside of you first. Your thoughts and emotions are constantly projecting the reality you live in. When you stay trapped in worry, fear, or doubt, life reflects those exact states back to you in different forms. You begin to notice more problems, more delays, more uncertainty. But when your inner world is filled with peace, gratitude, and confidence, your outer world begins to mirror that harmony. This is not imagination or hope. It is a consistent principle, as steady as any natural law. Your current reality is not happening to you randomly. It is coming from you. A person who expects struggle will unconsciously act in ways that reinforce struggle. They hesitate, overthink, and focus on what could go wrong. Even when something good appears, they doubt it or assume it will not last. Over time, their belief that life is difficult becomes their lived experience. Now compare that with someone who is certain that life supports them. They expect opportunities, they look for possibilities, and they trust outcomes even when things look uncertain. They move with confidence and openness. Because of their inner assumption, they naturally notice chances others miss, and they act without being paralyzed by fear. Their reality reflects that inner confidence. Both individuals exist in the same external world, but their experiences are completely different. The difference is not luck or external conditions. It is consciousness. Life is always responding to the dominant state you occupy inside. Trying to change your outer world without changing your inner world is like trying to fix your reflection by touching the mirror. It simply does not work. The reflection always follows the source. If you want a different life experience, you must first change the state you are living from within. Instead of asking what is wrong outside, you begin asking what belief is creating this experience. If money feels difficult, there is likely an inner assumption that abundance is limited. If relationships feel unstable, there may be a belief that love is hard to maintain or that you are not fully deserving of it. These hidden assumptions quietly shape everything you encounter. Once you become aware of these inner patterns, you gain the ability to change them. You do not need to force the external world to adjust. You only need to shift your inner identity. The moment your assumption changes, the reflection begins to change too, even if it takes time to fully appear. At first, old circumstances may still show up, just like a moving train that does not stop instantly. But if you stay consistent in your new belief, reality will eventually align. Most people fail here because they change their mindset briefly and then return to doubt when they do not see immediate results. It is similar to planting a seed and constantly digging it up to check if it is growing. Growth requires patience and trust. Your emotions are direct signals of your inner alignment. When you feel anxious or frustrated, it is not random. It is showing you that your current assumptions are not aligned with what you desire. Instead of resisting these feelings, you can use them as guidance. You can ask yourself what belief is producing this emotion, and then consciously replace it with a better one. You then shift into the feeling of already having what you want, and allow that feeling to become your new normal. From that point, you stop trying to force life to change. You simply trust that it will respond in its own time. Your only responsibility is to maintain the inner state of fulfillment. Reality always adjusts to the frequency you consistently hold. When you tune yourself to lack, struggle, or fear, you experience more of that. When you tune yourself to abundance, ease, and confidence, life begins to reflect that state back to you. It is similar to a radio. You do not create the station, you simply tune into it. Your desired reality already exists as a possibility. The key is aligning yourself with it internally. When you imagine and feel as if it is already real, you are tuning your consciousness to match that version of life. And once the alignment is strong enough, your external world has no choice but to follow. There is no need to chase anything. Chasing only reinforces the belief that something is missing. Instead, you become the version of yourself who already has it. Just like a magnet does not chase metal, it simply holds the quality that naturally attracts it. In the same way, you attract experiences by embodying the state of having, not seeking. For example, someone who wants financial stability but constantly thinks in terms of lack is reinforcing distance from wealth. But someone who internally feels secure and abundant begins to think, act, and decide differently. Their energy shifts, and so do the opportunities that come toward them. The same applies to love. When love is chased, it often comes from a place of neediness and separation, which pushes it away. But when a person already feels whole and complete within themselves, they naturally radiate love. That inner wholeness attracts meaningful relationships without effort. Embodiment is the key. It means becoming the version of you who already lives the life you desire. Not pretending, not forcing, but genuinely stepping into that identity in thought, feeling, and behavior. When your inner identity shifts, your outer reality must eventually adjust. Action still exists, but it changes in nature. Instead of action driven by fear or lack, it becomes natural and aligned. You no longer act from desperation. You act from certainty. Opportunities feel smoother, decisions feel clearer, and outcomes unfold more effortlessly. Your subconscious mind responds not to logic, but to repeated emotional states and beliefs. When you consistently live in the feeling of having, your mind accepts it as truth. Visualization, affirmation, and imagination are powerful because they help you internalize that state until it becomes your default. When you fully embody your desire, attachment begins to fade. You are no longer anxiously waiting for results. You trust that what is yours is already unfolding. This removes stress and brings a deep sense of inner stability. Life begins to feel less like struggle and more like flow. You stop fighting reality and start moving with it. You understand that everything is unfolding in its own timing, always reflecting the inner world you maintain. In the end, you are not trying to earn your desires or prove your worth. You are remembering it. You are returning to the state where you already have it, already are it, already live it within. And from that state, life naturally reorganizes itself to match the reality you are embodying. Everything begins with alignment. The moment you step into the feeling that what you desire is already yours, life begins to reorganize itself around that assumption. You don't need to fight for it, compete for it, or force anything into existence. Your only role is to align internally, and the outer world naturally responds. People who truly created great things in history understood this without necessarily naming it. They didn't chase success in desperation. They became it. They carried themselves with quiet certainty, as if their vision was already real. Whether they were artists, thinkers, or leaders, they lived from an inner knowing rather than uncertainty. That certainty shaped everything that followed. What you believe about yourself is the foundation of everything you experience. If you see yourself as unworthy, life cannot reflect lasting success, no matter how hard you try. If you see yourself as unlucky in love, relationships will keep echoing that belief. Nothing outside can override a deeply rooted self-image. The world always adjusts to who you believe you are. This process is simple, but it demands consistency and trust. You must hold the state of already having even when nothing around you seems to confirm it yet. At first, the outer world may still reflect old beliefs, just like a signal that hasn't fully changed even after you switch stations. But if you remain steady, everything eventually aligns with your new inner frequency. The key is to live from that fulfilled state every day. Wake up and move through life as the version of you who already has what you want. Think from that place, speak from that place, act from that place. Let go of impatience, pressure, and doubt. When you stop chasing and start embodying, life stops feeling like struggle and starts flowing naturally. Your desires are not random. They are not meaningless thoughts. They come from within you for a reason. They're expressions of something already existing in consciousness, waiting to be experienced physically. When you say, "I want it but I don't have it," you create separation, and that separation keeps it feeling distant. Everything you see in the physical world first existed as an idea. Every invention, every home, every achievement began in imagination before it became reality. In the same way, your desires already exist in a non-physical form. You are not creating them from nothing. You are aligning with them so they can take shape in your experience. Once you accept that what you desire is already yours in essence, your entire emotional state changes. The stress of waiting disappears. The anxiety of how fades. You begin to move with calm confidence, knowing that what belongs to you is already on its way into form. The only real obstacle is doubt. When you switch between belief and disbelief, you slow the process down. Life responds to your dominant state, not your occasional thoughts. So when you truly assume something is yours, you stop questioning it. You stop looking for proof. You simply know. Think of nature. When you plant a seed, you don't keep digging it up to check growth. You trust the process. You water it, give it time, and allow it to develop unseen until it becomes visible. Your desires work the same way. They grow in the unseen before appearing in the physical. This is not about forcing life to obey you. It is about shifting your inner world so completely that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. When your state is stable and consistent, reality adjusts naturally without struggle. Love works the same way. When someone searches for love from a place of emptiness, they reinforce lack and attract more of the same feeling. But when someone feels whole within themselves, love flows toward them naturally because they are no longer radiating neediness. They are radiating fullness. Wealth follows the same pattern. A person who constantly worries about money stays locked in scarcity. But a person who feels abundant regardless of current circumstances begins to make different choices, notice different opportunities, and attract different outcomes. The inner state always leads. At some point, you stop trying to force results. You stop checking, questioning, and doubting. You settle into trust, not blind hope, but quiet certainty that what you have aligned with is already unfolding. Time is not the real factor. Consciousness is. If you keep something alive in the future in your mind, it stays in the future. But if you accept it as already done within you, it moves into your present experience. This is why feeling is so important. You must feel successful before success appears. Feel loved before love shows up. Feel abundant before money reflects it. This is not pretending. It is shifting your inner reality to match the version of you who already has it. The outer world is always catching up. It is never leading. So when your inner state changes, everything around you begins adjusting in response. This is why resistance slows things down and alignment accelerates everything. You are not meant to chase life. You are meant to become the version of yourself that life naturally responds to. When you live from that identity, action becomes effortless. You move with clarity instead of fear. You choose from certainty instead of lack. Eventually, attachment fades. You no longer feel desperate for outcomes because you already feel fulfilled within. That inner fulfillment becomes your foundation, and from there, everything begins to fall into place naturally. And when you fully accept this way of being, life stops feeling like something you are trying to get right. It becomes something you are experiencing from the inside out, where everything reflects the state you consistently hold within yourself. When you move through life with the quiet assumption that what you desire is already yours, the entire process of creation has already begun working in your favor. Your only real task is to trust it and stop trying to interfere with how it unfolds. The moment you try to control every step, you create resistance, and that resistance slows everything down. Worrying about timing or questioning the process sends a signal to your subconscious that you don't fully believe in your desire yet. Since your outer world always reflects your inner state, it keeps showing you more delay, more distance, and more uncertainty. But when you genuinely release that need to control everything, something shifts inside you. You begin to allow instead of resist, and things start to flow in ways you could not plan or predict. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop obsessing. You no longer feel the need to chase, force, or constantly look for signs in the outside world. You simply rest in the inner feeling that it is already done, and in that relaxed state, your desire no longer feels blocked. It starts moving toward you naturally. There is a strange truth in this process. The more you release, the faster things align. When you loosen your grip, life has space to organize itself. But when you cling too tightly, you create tension that blocks the very thing you want. It is like holding water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they can only be happy once their desire arrives. They postpone joy, thinking happiness will come after the job, the relationship, or the money shows up. But this mindset pushes the desire further away because it keeps happiness locked in the future instead of lived in the present. When you choose to feel fulfilled now, regardless of circumstances, you shift into the state where your desire already exists. From that state, life responds differently. You are no longer chasing happiness. You are living it. And from that place, what you want begins to unfold naturally. Letting go is really an act of deep trust. It is the quiet confidence that what you desire is already in motion, even if you cannot see it yet. It is the understanding that life is always working behind the scenes in your favor, arranging things in ways you cannot currently perceive. The problem most people face is that they rely only on what they can see. If nothing has changed externally, they assume nothing is happening. So they fall back into doubt. But faith is not based on visible proof. Faith is what allows the invisible to become visible. It is holding your inner truth steady even when the outer world has not caught up. Just like a seed takes time beneath the soil before it appears, your desires also develop in unseen ways before they show up physically. You don't dig up the seed every day to check progress. You trust the process. The same patience applies here. People who naturally seem to attract good things often live in a relaxed state of trust. They are not constantly chasing or worrying. They simply expect life to support them, and because of that expectation, things tend to unfold smoothly. On the other hand, those who are always anxious or constantly checking for results remain stuck in repetition of the same experience. Letting go also means releasing rigid expectations about how things must happen. You may think your desire should arrive in a specific way or through a specific path, but life is far more creative than that. When you loosen your control, you allow space for outcomes that are often better than what you originally imagined. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving in to trust. It is relaxing into the belief that everything is already unfolding correctly, even if you cannot yet see how. It is letting go of fear, urgency, and doubt, and choosing to remain grounded in the present moment. One of the simplest ways to practice this is through gratitude. When you focus on what is already good in your life, your energy shifts from lack to abundance. You begin to signal that you are already fulfilled, and from that state, more reasons for gratitude naturally appear. Another powerful shift comes from living with joy now instead of postponing it. You don't wait for life to improve before you allow yourself to feel good. You start now in small ways by doing things that uplift you and bring you peace. Joy itself becomes a magnetic force that aligns you with your desires. Ultimately, letting go is not the end of manifestation, it is the turning point. It is where resistance ends and flow begins. It is where control is replaced by trust, and where struggle dissolves into ease. When you reach that state, something remarkable happens. The things you once chased begin to move toward you on their own, not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped resisting them. Everything comes down to one simple truth. What you consistently feel and believe within becomes the reality you experience outside. The moment you stop chasing, stop doubting, and start fully trusting the unseen process, life begins to align with your inner state. Your desires are not distant goals. They are already forming in the background, responding to your assumption of having. When you choose certainty over fear and embodiment over waiting, you step into a flow where life naturally delivers what once felt out of reach.